me. Phone ringing and I tell him it's icy. I got wifey on blingin', she icy. Freeze, photo, please, no photos. No, G's, no, please, no photos. Hit the door and the doorman just whole team here might need some. Still young, but I move like a new deal to my lawyer. If you're down in my management, I'm just warming up, wait till I old producer saw the numbers one. Different colors in my baggy light. Chalk it up, talk of the town when you're talking up. Wanna get you a ring and you tough enough. Wanna get you new things when your pockets dull. Run it up. I used to be quiet and out of luck. Now I move up and move humble cause they hating it.
So today we are going to be talking about my 375 45 22 Nitto Trail Grapplers. But before we get started, if you guys are new here, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. And at the end of this video, if I was able to help you on anything, make sure to comment down below. Let us know if we were able to answer your questions. And if I wasn't able to answer one of your questions, comment down below. I'm very responsive and I can get that figured out. If I miss a lot of things, we can always make a part 2 talking about these Nittos. Now, the reason I'm mainly making this video is because I remember when I first went to purchase these tires, there really wasn't that much talking about it. There was one kind of talking about the width and him mounting them and stuff, but no one really ever went in depth. And with me, I feel like me owning these tires for 5 years, this same set kind of allows me to go out of my way and talk about this tire and how it's done for me and all that time, because most of the time people talk about mounting these tires new, but you don't really see a lot of videos talking about how they've done. So I'm basically going to be the guy telling you how well this product did in that amount of time. And we can start off by talking about why I even chose Nitto in the first place. As you can tell by my apparel, I'm a huge Nitto guy. And whenever I was first looking for tires, I went through 2 sets. I had a set that was on this truck beforehand. There were some basic MTs. And then I had some RBPs, RBP repulsors. Worst tires I ever had. Each lasted a little over a year. The RBPs lasted less than a year. And so with that, I noticed 3 things on those tires. They wore unevenly, they were very loud, and I did not like the width and the design of the tires. And what I mean by design is I just didn't like how most companies make 1250s, 1350s, and mounting them on a 14 wide just does not look good. Look how well these mount. These 375s equal out to about 1550 wide, and that's about 2 hand widths wide. And this is a 14-inch wide tire, and it sits nice and flush against it. So there is no stretch. If you are not a fan of stretch like me, you will love these tires. Now, there's a lot of different things to go over, but I feel like these 5 things right here, I can kind of cover for this, and it will touch base on most of your questions, if not all of them. And like I said earlier in the video, if I don't answer something, comment down below. I'll try to get an answer. And if we have a lot of similar questions like that, we can almost make a second video to this. So getting back to the 5 things, we've already talked about the width. I do love that they are 1550s. I want to talk about durability, how loud they are, how long they've lasted. You already know it's 5 years, but we're going to go a little more depth in that, and the price. So as I was talking about, we went through 2 different sets of tires before this. We had a basic set of tires on this, some MTs, and then we had some RBP repulsors. Repulsive tire. Worst tire I've ever had in my freaking life. I'm glad that company's no longer making those. Anyways, so with a lot of those, they didn't wear very well. They wore unevenly. They were extremely loud, and they were just very cheap. I think I paid about $1,000 for the RBPs, and now I know why. Now we can touch base on durability. These are very durable freaking tires. I'm literally going to show you right now where I used to rub on this fender before I took out a little piece of metal where it was just gashing these tires. I got a gash right here. I got a chunk missing out right here. I got another chunk missing right here. Let's move to the other side. I'm going to show you the other side. So we got a chunk here completely just pulled out of it. A gash there, cuts here, slices all throughout these. I've literally had nails and screws all in these tires. Let's move over to this side. Slice through here. Looks like we had a huge slice just run straight down it right there. I mean, just everything about these tires is just insane. We're talking about the quality here. Most of the tires that a lot of other companies make, I feel like wouldn't even last a hit or a tear out of just a chunk of tire like that. I have gone so long with these tires, and never in all the time that I've owned these tires have I ever had a flat tire, maybe a low tire in the winter with the temperatures fluctuating, but never anything that directly is affected from the Nittos. Like, there is nothing in the Nittos that made it have a flat. These tires get rotated maybe twice a year. This truck is daily. This truck does not sit in a garage its entire life. It gets driven all the time. So for someone to say that they have gone 5 years without ever having a low tire or anything, even just a patch, is relatively insane. Not only people are going to say, well, maybe the truck isn't driven very often. This was a daily for 3 years of that 5. And even in those 5 years, I would still drive it here and there throughout the week. Not only because the diesel prices were going up, but I was only driving this probably about 4 days out of a 7-day week. So even then, it was still getting driven half throughout its life. This truck went to Texas on these tires, went to Nashville, Tennessee. It has been all over, driven around the US to different truck shows, and these tires have never failed me. So what I'm basically getting at is these are very durable tires. If you're someone that likes going off-roading, someone that dailies a truck, that doesn't like super loud tires, that likes a width, this is definitely a tire for you. So let's move on to the next one. How loud are they really? So a lot of people expect a meaty tire like this to be extremely loud on the highway, which you would be very surprised. This Nitto is not that loud. I used to have the 35-inch RBP repulsors, and those were so freaking loud, I literally had to yell to talk to my girlfriend in the passenger side. These tires, on the other hand, I could literally just talk in a loud tone of voice like this to my girlfriend. She can hear me just fine. And these tires, like I said, I went to Texas in them. We went to Nashville. Nashville was a 7.5 hour drive from my house. I don't know about you guys, but about, 2 hours in, it would have driven me crazy already. And even me thinking on a long drive like that, I really thought that there would be loud drone noise over time. It would go crazy because that's what everybody tells you. So you would think that for as long as I've had these tires, that over time, they would get louder and louder, like a normal tire. These tires do that, but it is in such a small amount you don't even really notice. Even with these wore down as much as they are, they're still twice as quiet as a brand new set of RBPs. So now we're going to go a little bit more in depth on the 5-year story of these tires, because a lot of people might not believe me. If you don't believe me, here is an old Instagram post of this truck when I first got these 375s. And the reason I really got into this tire is because a lot of people are like, you get what you pay for. These tires were quite a bit more, and if any of you guys know, you're probably watching this video trying to make sure that these Nittos that you're about to buy are worth the money, because they are quite a bit higher, compared to other 35s and 36s in this size. But the reason behind it is because they last for freaking ever, man. In those 5 years, with all the damage and everything in my tires, only rotating them twice a year, off-roading them, driving them in the snow, on the highway, in gravel roads, back roads, I've hauled things with these tires, and never had a flat or even a low tire is just something a lot of people cannot say. And more talking about the backstory of these tires, the reason I went with them is because everyone always tells you get what you pay for. So I'm looking around, I buy my first set of tires, RBP's $1,000. It'll last me less than a year. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to go through this again because it's been 2 tires, in less than 2 years that I actually own this truck. So I always heard people talking about Nittos. So I go type them in, I'm like, holy cow, these things are expensive, man. Didn't know if I wanted to pull the trigger on them yet. So I left them in my cart for a while, did some more research, found a few YouTube videos, but no one actually explaining how well they lasted. A lot of them were just mounting and stuff, but nobody going in depth on how long they lasted. So I pulled the trigger on them, bought them, and I just automatically fell in love with them. And not only because of sleek design, but I just love how they mounted so well. Not a lot of people were running Nittos, in my hometown, and I just love how they were an awkward size. I couldn't clear a 37, and 35s looked too small, so this 375 was a perfect in the middle of 36, and it just met all of my qualifications, so I ended up buying them and never looked back ever since. So for those of you that were waiting around trying to figure out the price on these tires, these were $2,300 when I bought them 5 years ago. Now I'm not really sure what they are, but let's look them up real quick. I just looked up the price. So I paid $3,200 with them out the door. They've gone up to about $3,300 to $3,600. The cheapest I found them was on custom offsets for $3,300, and they are out of stock. So I was not expecting them to have gone up in price. I was hoping maybe they stayed there and maybe gone down a little bit. But with the price of everything else in the United States, I mean, why am I surprised? But let's also think about it this way, guys. Let's say you do spend $3,600 on a set of Nittos, okay? So with these tires, let's say they last you 6 years. 3,600 divided by 6 is about 600 bucks. So in those 2 years that I had my truck, I went through 2 different sets, less than 2 years. One was $1,000. Let's say you're spending $1,500 on a set of tires every other year. You're looking at about the same price, if not a little more, but then you're having to worry about finding someone to mount your tires, ordering them, you know, buying them, shipping them to your house. For one purchase right off the bat, it's saving you a bunch of little transactions and research in the long run. I would rather run one set of tires and pay $3,600 up front than run 3 different sets in those 6 years and have to keep doing the same thing over and over. It gets exhausting, man. I get tired of it, taking it to tire shops, having them mount it, but you know, hope that they don't scratch my wheel every single time I take it into them. And it's just a lot of a headache, and I get tired of dealing with a lot of that stuff. So that's the reason I'm always going to run Nittos, just because they last forever and they're just an all-around great tire. If you're like me, you like to think in the long run. How is this going to affect me? How is this going to benefit me in the long run and save me a headache? This is definitely just the way to go about it. If I could go back and redo it again, I would do it again and again and again, because I am tired of running cheap tires that don't last forever. But I hope I was able to cover all the things about the Nittos, the price, $3,200, how long I had them for 5 years, how durable they are, very durable, how they do, you know, off-road in the snow, perfect, and how loud they are. They're not very loud. I would say on a scale of 10, a 5 out of 10, 6 maybe the max. So I hope I was able to cover most of those points. If you guys have any more questions, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys think and what you want to hear. And thank you guys for watching.